For more than 700 years, the Scarlet Throne in the audience hall of the Imperial Palace was the symbol of true power throughout creation. This jade chair, said to weigh 1,000 talents, is supported and canopied by 5 dragons, sinuous and entwined around a place for a human to sit. The dragons' heads are deferential, reverent, and yet fiercely protective of the person enthroned. From this throne, the Scarlet Empress spoke, and her will was carried out. No ruler in creation could think on the power and strength that seemed to emanate from that throne and not sigh in awe and envy. Depictions of the 5 elemental dragons twine in upon themselves to form the Scarlet Throne, each bearing a body carved of jade and a fierce yet noble head depicted in its elemental color. The entirety of the throne is carved from the purest jade in creation. Rumor has it that the throne was created for the Empress by the elemental dragons themselves as a sign of her rightful rule. Adding to the Scarlet Empress's impressive appearance, the 5 dragons depicted on the throne appear to come to life whenever she was seated there. More than one courtier made a hasty retreat from the imperial presence after watching in terror as the elemental dragons slowly stirred themselves to life around the Empress. While thusly animated, the dragons fully assume their natural coloration, and have been known to snap threateningly at those with whom the Empress is even momentarily displeased. On the single occasion when Regent Fokuf dared to seat himself upon the Scarlet Throne, the dragons writhed to life, rearing back to glare disapprovingly at the quaking pretender. Perhaps this explains his reluctance to remount the throne, pretending to take what audiences he cannot avoid in more private chambers. Despite that, it seems clear that the throne itself has no magical powers to confer greatness. The personality and dedication of the woman or man who sits there is far more relevant to the realm's prominence than any mystical virtue that might rise onto the one who sits upon it. Therefore, there is a contest for the throne. The issue is not simply who will sit on it, but also who will not sit upon it. All of the major players are universally agreed that Fokuf will not stay on the throne as regent forever. It is possible he will not outlast the year, though if he's lucky he might survive another 1.5 years after the next calibration. As many are going out of their way to try and protect him as are trying to assassinate him. Everyone wants to make sure they are ready with their own candidate when the storm breaks, so the regent's life is guarded for now. There are 2 issues at work, pulling the contest first in one direction and then another. First, the dragon-blooded are largely aware that the realm is tearing itself apart without the firm hand of the Empress guiding its various factions. Some members of the great houses think the realm needs to be broken up, if only so that they can get a larger portion of wealth and power. Others are prepared to follow any new monarch just to get the realm back on track again, somehow. The second issue is more complicated, but the basic problem is the lack of a body. If the Empress were dead, then there would have been a funeral. Even if she had left instructions behind explaining the succession, many might have followed her commands. Yet, every candidate for the Scarlet Throne ponders what would happen if she takes the throne and the Empress returns. One can easily imagine what would happen if the Empress returned to find that buffoon Fokuf dressed in scarlet sitting on her chair, and his title is only regent. She would destroy him and scatter his ashes to the elemental poles. What would happen if she found someone there actually claiming to be the new Empress or Emperor? So, the realm needs a new monarch, yet the threat of the old monarch returning gives many of the likely candidates pause. Still, a few names get bandied about, and it becomes a matter of guessing which one of them will act, or whose minions will push their leader into acting first. Knowledgeable bookies, particularly in House Sinus, have set up pools to help people bet on their favorites. The odds against the Empress's return grow longer, and possible candidates are beginning to make their intentions known. These are some of them. Mnemon, founder of the house that bears her name, grandmother and mother to more dragon-blooded than any other house leader, is probably the prime candidate for the throne, and the most likely to win it. Mnemon is a powerful sorceress and a dangerous foe. If lineage alone determined inheritance in the realm, she would already be on the throne. If lineage and ambition were sufficient to take the throne, Mnemon would be empress. Mnemon is known to rage nightly, throwing people about and knocking down buildings in her fury, for she knows that while she could take the throne, she certainly could not hold it. She hates the other great houses, and the members of the other houses know it. While her own brood remains relatively loyal to her, the other houses of the dynasty would band together against her and find an acceptable compromise candidate, rather than let Mnemon rule. Mnemon has tried to open the Imperial Manse numerous times and failed again and again. At heart, she knows that her reasons for trying to enter are insufficiently pure. Her mother went in desiring to save all creation from the fair folk, with no thought of her own safety. Yet, Mnemon wants only to ensure her own survival. For her, the prize is not entering the manse, but coming back out again, alive and in command of the realm's most powerful defensive and offensive weapons. Alliance with other houses have also failed, and marriages between the scions of House Mnemon and those of other great houses have not helped break the deadlock. Mnemon is confident that she can take the throne, but she can find no one willing to commit to letting her keep it. The Roseblack. Meanwhile, the other great houses debate the idea of choosing to support the Roseblack, the nickname of Tepet Ejava, a recent military hero and superior strategist who is currently on campaign in the southwest with the ragtag Vermilion Legion. Even with such a rebellious and broken force under her command, the Roseblack has given the realm a series of successes and victories that raise people's hopes for the Empire's glorious survival and renewal. At present, no one can quite figure out how to keep her safe from Mnemon. If she were recalled to the Blessed Isle, Tepet Ejava would probably face an accident, or even an obvious assassination, the moment that she landed. While she is a military genius, she is not as politically savvy as Mnemon, which is, of course, part of the Roseblack's appeal. But Mnemon is among the most capable sorceresses in the realm. Even the Roseblack's most ardent supporters must face the truth. If the Roseblack wants the throne, she will have to take it and then discover how many supporters she has. To offer her the throne is tantamount to signing her death warrant, though, for she likely would not survive long enough to be crowned. Adding to the complications, every one of the great houses has its own pet candidate. The Ledaal clan advances one of the younger members of its house, a superior gateway player by the name of Kes. No one thinks Kes wants the dubious honor of being emperor, and he is regarded as something of a hothead. Most difficult of all, while he and his wife have dutifully produced children, both of them are known to have exotic and peculiar, troubling tastes in bed partners and sensual pleasures. The other houses tend not to like Kes very much. Cathak Cainan is another such house-sponsored candidate. Great-great-grandson of the Empress, a former general, and now the elder of his house, Canaan has a great deal of power and prestige to throw into the contest. Yet he does not wish to be emperor. His children, cousins, and nieces think very highly of him and his loyalty to the realm, however, and they think that he might make an acceptable compromise candidate. Members of the other houses often agree, but few are prepared to acclaim him just yet. And then there are the wildcard candidates, such as Vineeth Bashar. This young sorcerer graduated from Heptagram several decades ago and now works as Vineeth's chief of security. For the last 3 years, she has been puzzling out the outer layer of defenses for the Imperial Manse, and she now believes that she can bypass these defenses and open the door. She is considering daring the Imperial Manse, reasoning that if her grandmother could do it more than 700 years ago, she can too. If successful, of course, she would have access to and control over the realm's most powerful engines of war, and she would likely become Empress without too much trouble. Roads to the throne. In truth, there are 5 possible roads to the Scarlet Throne, any of which could be the one that sets a new Empress or Emperor over the realm. The first of these is called the Right of Acclaim. Under some obscure rules laid down by the Empress, with the advice of the deliberative may declare the throne empty, and then the senators and deliberators in each chamber may shout out the name of the dragon-blooded they feel most eligible for the throne. If there is any clear unity in both chambers about who the person is, then the throne is offered to that person. Yet, the deliberative cannot agree on how much the scribe of the upper chamber must be paid each year, much less who should replace Regent Fokof. The second method is a coup. If someone kills Regent Fokof, takes the throne, and kills or neutralizes anyone who comes to try and kill her, then she will be Empress. Maybe. The question then becomes whether the deliberative, the army, the Immaculate Order, and the Thousand Scales will recognize her, and how long it will take for someone to do the same thing to her. The third method is invitation. If 4 or more of the great houses, the generals of several legions, and some senior members of the Thousand Scales can agree on a single candidate, those officials might invite their candidate to come to the Imperial City to visit the regent in the palace and claim the throne with their sponsorship. The difference between an invitation and a coup is simply that Fokof might not have to die, though he probably still would, and the support for the various factions of the realm is at least partly decided in advance. The fourth method is procedural, with the regent functioning as if he were the Empress, vigorous new leadership in the army, the Imperial Service, the houses, and the deliberative might simply find a new balance of power between all of the realm's various factions. Many of the Empress's powers will rest with other individuals and institutions, and the realm will go on. When Fokof dies or is murdered, the deliberative will have a set of procedures in place, which are currently being drafted, to decide who takes his place, not as regent but as Empress, albeit one with substantially reduced powers. Many are hoping for a resolution of this kind. The fifth method is magical. If a group of brave, foolhardy, or stupid dragonblood dares the Imperial Manse and succeeds, one or more of the surviving members will become Empress, Emperor, Emperor and Empress, or some combination thereof. No one really knows quite what this will look like. There is sufficient awe and fear of the Manse, however, that if someone comes back out and claims to be in charge, she probably will be, if she possesses demonstrable control over the War Manses.